Religion and faith seem to dominate almost every aspect of life in the Philippines.
This is supposed to be a religious festival, but it feels to me as though the crowd here are on their way to a football match.
This is one of the biggest religious festivals in the country, the procession of the Black Nazarene.
You get a real sense of religious piety here. The Philippines is a very unusual country because it's a Catholic country in Asia. It's a Catholic country amid a sea of Buddhists and Hindus and Muslims. So it's almost unique in that sense.
The Black Nazarene is a dark wood statue of Christ carrying the cross that came to Manila from Mexico in the 17th century. It's become a potent icon, said to have miraculous powers. Each year, the Black Nazarene is carried through the streets of the city, and en route, nearly 2 million people try to touch it. In previous years, people have actually died in the brutal crush. When the statue eventually makes it through the throng to the Quiapo church, it's met with an almighty surge of devotion.
God. Just extraordinary. I've never seen anything like this. This crush of people coming through here, through this narrow choke point. You can see people crying out in pain because they're being squashed. It's beautiful to see the devotion, but it's quite horrific to see the potential for absolute disaster here.
If there's one group that exercises as much power over ordinary Filipinos as Catholic priests, it's the country's politicians. Since independence from Spain and then the US in 1946, the Philippines has been led by an array of controversial and colourful characters.
We've come to the fort area. It feels about 1 million miles away from the slums of this city. And we've come to meet a living legend, Imelda Marcos.
For 20 years, Ferdinand Marcos was president of the Philippines. And alongside him was his formidable wife, Imelda. Part glamorous assistant, part mother of the nation, occasional government minister, and constant presidential companion. Their grip on the country was absolute. For 14 years, the nation lived under martial law, and thousands suffered human rights abuses. But in 1986, fed-up Filipinos threw them out. They fled the country, leaving behind a strong whiff of corruption and a closet full of shoes.
It feels a little bit like walking into the lion's den. The lion might be elderly and a little bit fragile, but she's still a lion.
Come in. Thank you.
Wow. What an extraordinary room. I feel rather underdressed.
Imelda Marcos' living room is beyond plush, and you instantly appreciate why her name has become a byword for extravagance.
It's made out of pearls.
The whole room drips with lavish indulgence. Well, most of it. And of course, many Filipinos accuse her of accumulating this collection with their money. I was hoping to talk to Madame Imelda about her love of all things lovely and how she acquired them.
You have just extraordinary treasures just in this room alone. Could you talk us through some of the paintings? Who's the...
The Madonna.
The Madonna is, who's that artist?
That is a Michelangelo Madonna. I think
This is a
one of the few
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo Madonna.
And this one?
That's a Pizarro.
Pizarro. And then over here, this is a Picasso.
Yeah. This is a Gauguin.
That's a Gauguin.
Yeah.
How did you manage to get so many extraordinary, lovely things?
Well, my husband was the lawyer of gold mines and also a gold trader. And he loved gold so much. He would always tell me, "Sweetheart," he said, "it's hard to earn money honestly and properly, but harder still to spend money properly. You be the one to spend." And then I said, "Why?" And then he said to me, "Because all you buy is beauty."
It sounds like a perfect relationship then. He earned the money.
Yes.
And you spent it.
Spent it, right. And I just did not leave it in gold. I bought paintings, beautiful jewelry, beautiful silver, anything beautiful.
But when President Marcos was acquiring all this money and giving it to you to spend, did you think it was his money, or did you look on it as money, the money of the Philippines people?
Oh no, I knew it was his money because I saw this gold already in his home.
You were rich even before you became
He was rich.
leaders of the country.
He was rich. Oh, definitely.
And that has always been Imelda's line.
Thank you.
Her husband, Ferdinand Marcos, was a staggeringly successful investor in gold who made billions.
Manila Polo Club over there.
We didn't use the Filipino treasury as our own personal cash machine. And if you think we did, prove it. And so far, despite hundreds of court cases, no one really has.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about your shoes.
They found no skeletons in my closet. They found beautiful shoes made in the Philippines.
Imelda is back, loud, proud, and beautifully shod. And she does appear to be genuinely popular with some Filipinos. The Philippines government has seized more than £400 million from accounts in Switzerland. But the puzzle of her remaining riches is locked up in bewildering legal cases and contested documents.
Just look at this. This is only
So this is
one.
an envelope with Belgium on the front of it. The mysteries. What could this be? So this is some sort of treasury certificate. It's a slightly fuzzy...
No, don't anymore because this is dangerous already. No more. Look.
If only I had a photographic memory, I could tell you what it was.
Yeah,
But it's...
no.
All right, we can't show you.
Yes, yeah.
But it shows
Yes, for them. How
deposits
much is
in the
that?
name of Ferdinand Marcos in a bank in Brussels, and it's for it's for $987 billion. 908. Can we show the camera?
No, please. That's, you know.
Such a huge sum surely can't be genuine. But with Imelda, who knows? Like armies of lawyers, I failed to unravel the mystery of Imelda's billions.
This is shallow waters.
But I did get a very interesting and very long presentation on her plans to end poverty and build a tunnel through the Philippines that would solve the world's trade problems.
Well, I feel I've been completely steamrolled by the grandmother of bling. It was quite an experience. I suppose in a way, all the allegations about her shoes have helped to detract attention from the really more serious accusations that have been levelled against her, the human rights abuses, the corruption, the theft of public money. And now it's a you've got a situation where Imelda's basically making a comeback.
And tragically, the human rights abuses of the Marcos years seem to have made a comeback too. In recent years, the Philippines government has come under attack for its human rights record. There have been hundreds of political killings and hundreds more abductions.
This is a page from an Amnesty International report that talks about enforced disappearances, and it mentions a few countries, but particularly Algeria and Chad, which are known human rights black spots, and the Philippines as well.
Many of the killings are connected to a war fought between government soldiers and communist rebels called the New People's Army. Their 40-year insurgency has cost more than 40,000 lives. While battling the communist rebels, the Philippines army has been accused of killing and torturing innocent left-wing activists, human rights workers and students. One retired army general has become notorious for his alleged role in these abuses. His name is Javito Pauparan. I headed for his office on the outskirts of Manila.
I'm a bit apprehensive about meeting him. Not only is he known as the butcher, but he's also, even more ominously, known as the executioner. You've got this magazine cover here. This has been given to you as a happy birthday present, hasn't it?
Yeah,
This says
an Inquirer magazine, yeah.
the general dubbed the butcher claims conscience is the least of his concerns. Are you ashamed of being known as the butcher?
Initially, but I have to live with that. This is war.
How do you account for the fact that dozens of activists, of political activists and human rights workers disappeared or were executed in the areas under which you were in military command?
There were no incidents to prove that I was involved, or my men are involved, or involved. None of this. But in this kind of war, to me, it seems to be that these are necessary incidents, meaning it got to happen.
But killing human rights workers, students, young activists, you're saying that's part of the war?
Well, they are going into cover of being just human rights advocates, but in fact, they are very much involved in fighting. They just go back and forth, you know.
The Supreme Court in the Philippines says that your participation in an abduction was established. And
That's according to them.
but that's pretty definitive, isn't it?
That's definitive, but yeah, according to them. But it's more of deduction, more of a presumption out of the alleged evidence and witnesses that they have, but still not a fact.
The communist rebels have vowed to get you personally. They've said you're a dead man walking.
Okay. It's a threat.
Do you think they're going to get you?
No, it's nothing. That's nothing as a threat. They are not that good. It's just hype, you know, media hype or propaganda.
What seems to have happened here, to me, is that there's been a really nasty, dirty war with atrocities committed on both sides. It's the sort of thing that we used to hear a lot about during the Cold War, and yet here in the Philippines, it's still going on.
It was time to leave the urban chaos of Manila and explore a very different side to the country. We headed south to visit some of the thousands of islands that make up the Philippines. Shay Rhodes has been to a lush tropical island in the west of the country to learn more about one of the Philippines' most striking cultures. Religion and faith seem to dominate almost every aspect of life in the Philippines.
This is supposed to be a religious festival, but it feels to me as though the crowd here are on their way to a football match.
This is one of the biggest religious festivals in the country, the procession of the Black Nazarene.
You get a real sense of religious piety here. The Philippines is a very unusual country because it's a Catholic country in Asia. It's a Catholic country amid a sea of Buddhists and Hindus and Muslims. So it's almost unique in that sense. There they go. My God. Extraordinary. I've never seen anything like this. This crush of people coming through here, through this narrow choke point. You can see people crying out in pain because they're being squashed. It's beautiful.
People try to touch it. In previous years, people have actually died in the brutal crush. When the statue eventually makes it through the throng to the Quiapo church, it's met with an almighty surge of devotion. The Black Nazarene is a dark wood statue of Christ carrying the cross that came to Manila from Mexico in the 17th century. It's become a potent icon, said to have miraculous powers. Each year, the Black Nazarene is carried through the streets of the city, and en route, nearly 2 million